and I'm the co-founder of Devise, and also a lawyer and founder at PLC Advogados in Portugal. So first of all, I would like to thank the organization by this invitation that was addressed to me, that I kindly and very proud accepted to participate in this conference. Secondly, I would like to inform that due to a situation that occurred today, during the day of today, after my presentation, I will have to leave the conference, professional matters, professional issues. And by then, any questions that you might have regarding my presentation or regarding the Golden Visa in Portugal, you can address those questions to the organization. They will send it to me, and then during the day of today or tomorrow, I will reply to all of them. Okay. So regarding my presentation, so I was invited to talk about the Golden Visa program, or the residence permit for investment in Portugal. So let's start with this. As you all know, this was a program that was created by the Portuguese state in order to attract foreign investment to Portugal. And the main purpose of this resident permit for investment, or RARI, or Golden Visa, is that it enables the third country nationals to obtain a temporary residence permit to conduct business activities in Portuguese territory. So, in return of this investment, what the beneficiaries of the Golden Visa are entitled to is a residence waiver for entering Portugal, to live and work in Portugal, but with specificity here in this case, that it is that if you want to stay in Portugal, for example, to stay to get a work permit to stay, you have to live here in Portugal. And with the Golden Visa, what gives us is the possibility for you only to stay in Portugal in the first year for the 7 or more days, and in the second and subsequent years only to stay for 14 days in the Portuguese territory. This is almost as a bonus of the Golden Visa program. Okay. The other solution is, for example, it allows us, the beneficiary, to travel within the Schengen area. Also, after the 5 years, that is the duration of the residence permits for investment or Golden Visa, it allows the beneficiary to apply for permanent residence or Portuguese citizenship. And at last, it can sort of some family reunification. What is this? It allows the beneficiary to reunificate the direct family. What is the direct family? What is intended here in Portugal as direct family? For example, wife or husband or kid or son or daughter, and also father. This is one of the benefits of the Golden Visa program. So, as I was saying, when someone asked me to present or to talk about the Golden Visa, I thought to myself that it would be important for the participants to understand which type of Golden Visa we have in Portugal, and to analyze and see what are the documents that each program needs to be eligible. So in Portugal, we have 8 types of Golden Visa programs, and I'm going to try to explain in few words each one of them. So the first program is to have a capital transfer with a value equal or above 1 million euros. The second program is to create 10 job positions by creating a company in Portugal. The third one is the purchase of real estate property with a value equal or above 500K. So this third program is the most looked for program in all of the 8. Okay. The fourth situation is the purchase of real estate property with construction dating back more than 30 years, or the property must be located in urban regeneration areas for refurbishing, and the value must be equal or above 350K. There's some slight values that can be inserted here in this situation, but I will explain them later. So the fifth situation is the capital transfer with the value equal to or above 350K for investing in research activities conducted by public or private scientific research institutions. The sixth possibility is the capital transfer with a value equal to or above 250K for investing in artistic output or supporting the arts. And the seventh possibility is the capital transfer of 350K or higher for the acquisition of units or investment funds or venture capital funds. And the last one is the capital transfer of the amount of 350K or higher for the constitution of a commercial society with head office in the national territory. Okay, so let's start with the first one. And before analyzing the first situation, I want to inform that these documents that I'm going to tell that is needed, they are all the same to all the programs that I spoke earlier. Okay, so to be eligible, first of all, to be eligible to any program of Golden Visa, you have to have a valid passport or any valid travel document. And also you have to have some evidence of the entry and legal stay in the Portuguese territory. The next one, usually in my office when, I'm going to explain why, but in my office when someone asks me to start a Golden Visa, I always suggest a second solution and you're going to see why. So one of the documents that is also required is an evidence which the applicant is covered by the healthcare system, namely a document proving that the applicant is covered by the National Health Service. So in this situation, if you choose by this situation, what probably the Portuguese entities are going to ask is a proof that you are now in fact living in Portugal for you to benefit from the National Health Service. So the solution is the second one that I show here is the document proving that the applicant is the holder of the international recognized health insurance for the period of the legal residence requested, the 5 years, or featuring the automatic renewal of the insurance. So this is the easiest way to control this situation regarding the national or the healthcare system, okay? So another document that is also mandatory is the criminal record of the applicant from the country of your origin or the country where the applicant is living for more than 1 year. For example, I'll give you an example. I'm now working on a situation that the applicant is from Pakistan. However, is living for the last 5 or 6 years in Dubai. And it is easier for him to get this criminal record from Dubai. So taking into consideration this situation, he delivered the document from Dubai, the criminal record from Dubai. Another document that is needed also to apply for the Golden Visa is the evidence of tax identification number or equivalent from the country of origin, or where you have your tax residence. For example, in the situation that I spoke earlier, my client from Pakistan, he delivered the document from Dubai because he has tax residence in Dubai. So other documents that are also mandatory are the application form that is available on the site of the Portuguese entities, namely CEF, that allows and gives the authorization for consultation of the Portuguese criminal record, and sworn statement by the applicant that declares the comply with all the minimum quantitative and time requirements, as I said before, 5 years for the investment activity in national territory. And finally, the evidence of the tax obligations duly filled by means of submitting the negative debt declaration issue with 45 days maximum in advance. And at last, the payment, of course, the payment for this analysis of the application of the Golden Visa. So these documents are all essential to each one of those Golden Visa programs that we are going to analyze now. So the first Golden Visa program is, as I said before, the transfer of the value equal to 1 million euros. So first of all, we have the applicant must prove that in fact there was there must be an evidence that in fact there was a wire the money, they transferred the money to the Portuguese bank, and they have to prove this situation. How? Through several cases, for example. One of them is the declaration. It must be issued a declaration from a Portuguese credit institution authorized or registered in the national territory within a bank of Portugal. So this bank can issue a document that attests that in fact they have a balance in Portugal, in the Portuguese bank, equal or above 1 million euros. Another way to prove this is if we are in the case of the acquisition of a public debt instrument from the Portuguese state, which is possible also for this type of Golden Visa, and in particular government bonds and savings certificates or treasury bills, the Treasury of Debt and Management Agency in Portugal must issue a document that proves that also these documents are in the amount equal or above 1 million euros. Another solution is if we are speaking in acquisition of transferable securities, also in terms of the Portuguese law, it must be issued, the respective registering entity according must be issued a document saying that in fact we have the holdership of this value. Another possibility is if we are speaking of acquisition of bearer securities that are placed within the depository, it must have a certificate attesting that indeed there is a ownership by the applicant of this value. Okay, If we are speaking of acquisition of nominative securities not included in centralized system, also it must be, we must have also an ownership certificate, that attests that the applicant's ownership. And it's the same case in acquisition of nominative securities included in the centralized system. And in the case of acquisition of social participation, and not included in previous cases, it must have an extract from the register of the companies attesting the holder of the participation and the contract by means of which the acquisition took place. So this is the way for us to prove, in fact, that there was a transfer in the first case of 1 million euros, okay, despite all the documents that we have to join or to attach also that I mentioned before. So the second possibility that is also very looked for is to create 10 job positions in Portugal. And this is an easier possibility in terms of paperwork, in terms of procedure. So what we must do is, first, to have a declaration of a credit institution authorized or registered in the national territory, attesting the effective transfer of the funds equal to above the legally required. What is this? So in Portugal, there is a possibility to create a company that is called, let me try to translate this to English, a simple way, is a company in the hour. So we can create a company in 1 hour time, okay? It's a possibility here in Portugal. However, the Portuguese entities don't think that, and the minimum capital share is 2 euros, okay? However, the Portuguese entities don't take this value in consideration, and they expect that by creating a job, 10 job positions and creating a company and to submit the form of a golden visa, it must have some value to the Portuguese economy. So, for example, I always suggest my clients, if they choose by this situation, to try and create a company with a capital share also a minimum of 100K, because this is more than enough to prove to the Portuguese entities that, in fact, this company will be relevant to the Portuguese economy, okay? So another document that we must attach to this process is each one of the 10 job positions must have an individual contract of employment, okay? And each one of these contracts must be attached to the form of the golden visa. And at least, we must have an extract from the register of the companies in the case where the investment is made through a shareholder limited liability company, okay? However, there is a note that I must do here is, if we are investment by means of creation of at least 10 jobs, this requirement may be reduced in 20% until 8 jobs if we are speaking on creating a company in a low density territory. For example, if we're going to start a company in Porto or Lisbon, which is the capital, it's not considered a low density territory. So we have to create a company with 10 jobs. But if we go to other cities, smaller cities in Portugal, this requirement of the 10 jobs can be altered to 8 jobs and can be reduced in 20%. Okay, this is a way that the Portuguese state found to attract more investment to the interior of the country. Okay, to other cities that are not as well developed as Porto or Lisbon. Okay, so the third situation that I was speaking before, and probably the most popular one, is the purchase of real estate property with a value equal or above the 500K. And this is also, and again, first of all, we have to prove, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you right away, but we have to prove also that this value of the 500K were in fact invested here in Portugal in properties. However, as I said before, if we are speaking of a low density territory, this investment can be reduced in 20%. For example, it goes from 500K to 400K. Once again, if you are speaking of Porto, Lisbon, Braga, the main cities of Portugal, obviously this is not going to have a reduction of the 20%. Okay, this is, as I said before, a way to try and invest in other cities that are not so well developed as Porto or Lisbon. So, which are the documents that they need? First of all, we must prove that in fact there were an acquisition deed. So we must have the acquisition deed for the real estate or the pre-contract agreement of the 500K or the 400K. Okay, just to give you the information, this situation does not it's not mandatory that it must be only one property. Okay, it can be, for example, 2 or 3 properties that fulfill the amount of the 500 or the 400K, depending on the situation. Okay. The other document that we need is the declaration from the credit institution authorized or registered in the national territory, attesting the effective international transfer of assets for its acquisition or payment on the first-hand cash stated as a pre-contract agreement. Again, from the 500K or the 400K. Also, it will be necessary the land register certificate with the records, endorsements, and registrations in force, proving the ownership of the real estate. So after you do the agreement, after you purchase the properties, you will have to prove within joining this certificate, proving that you in fact are the owner of the properties. The other documents that in fact we need is the legal description of the real estate where legally possible. If the acquisition of the real estate is made through a shareholder limited company, or the latter one is the promising buyer. And also the extract from the register of the companies in the case we are speaking of the investment being made by or through a shareholder limited company. So another note, as I said before, this type of investment can be made individually or through a shareholder limited liability company of which the applicant is a shareholder. So regarding the other solution of Golden Visa is the purchase of real estate property in areas with 30 or plus years with a value equal or above the 350K. So this has some specifications that we need to attend. First of all, to use this type of Golden Visa program, we must invest 350K. Once again, it's not necessarily it's only in one property. It can be 2 or 3 properties that fulfill the amount of 350K. Okay, but this has some sort of specifications. It must have this building, this property must be at least 30 years, or the real estate must be located in an urban rehabilitation area. Okay. Once again, this value can be reduced in 20% if you are speaking of a low density territory. For example, to benefit from this once again this reduction of 20%, we cannot be speaking of properties in Porto or Lisbon. Okay. So, which is or what are the documents that are needed to fulfill this type of Golden Visa? So once again, are the same documents that we spoke in the situation of the 500K, the acquisition deed of the real estate or the pre-contract agreement, the declaration of a credit institution authorized or registered in national territory within the Bank of Portugal, attesting the effective international transfer of assets for the acquisition or the payment of the first-hand cash, the land register certificate, the legal description, and the extract from the register of companies as well, in case we are speaking of the investment made through a shareholder company. What concerns the rehabilitation of the real estate, there's some other documents that are also needed, and which are, it will be mandatory to attach, for example, the contract being made between the owner and the contractor. So we are going to have to celebrate a contract with contractor. It must be reduced to written and obviously recognize the signatures and everything like that. And we have to do this contract to prove that in fact we are rehabilitating and we are investing in the property. Okay, and also we must have a declaration from the competent entity attesting the real estate is within a rehabilitation area. In this case, how can we get this? We can get those, for example, in the City Hall. I'll give you another example. Last year I made one of these programs, Golden Visa, using this situation. And this document can be acquired in the City Hall, proving that in fact the property is located in one of these areas, the rehabilitation area. And the only thing that we need is, in fact, to attach this document, and it is proven, and we can skip this step. Okay. Regarding other solutions, namely the capital transfer of 350K for investment in research activities. This is simpler. The only documents that we need is the declaration of the credit institution authorized or registered again in national territory, attesting the effective transfer of the amount equal or to above the legally required. Also, and this can be some tricky, is a declaration issued by a public or private scientific research institution involved in national scientific or technological system, attesting, in fact, that there was an effective transfer of the capital for research activities on the amount of the 350K, or again, the reduction of 20% if we are speaking of low density territory. And also, if the investment is made through a shareholder, once again, the extract from the register of the companies. Another solution is the 250K for investment in artistic output. So in this, as I said in all of them, all the presentations before, it's going to be necessary a declaration from the Portuguese bank, the credit institution, attesting the effective transfer of the amount of 250K. And also another declaration issued by this entity, the Strategy Planning and Cultural Assessment Office, where the cultural services with companies in the sector have been consulted, attesting once again that this investment nature of is supporting of the arts, restoring or maintenance of national cultural heritage. And if in fact the investment is made to a shareholder, the extract of the company. As I said before, this investment can be reduced in 20%, 200K, when it is a low density territory. Regarding the capital transfer of the 350K for the acquisition of funds, the only documents that we need is, despite the declaration, and once again from the credit institution authorized in Portuguese territory attesting the effective transfer, is a supporting document attesting the ownership of the units of investment. And free, this is very important because there are some requests that are denied because of this specificity that I'm going to report now. Is it must be the document must prove that it is free from any charges or obligations. Okay. And we also need the declaration that must be issued by the holding company of the respective investment fund, attesting the feasibility of the capitalization plan, maturity, or at least 5 years, and the application of at least 60% of the investment in commercial companies without office in national territory. And once again, the register of the companies, the extract from the register of the companies if we are speaking of investment made through a shareholder limited liability company. And the other situation is the capital transfer of 350K for a constitution of a commercial society. It is also necessary the declaration from the Portuguese bank, the credit institution registered in the Portuguese bank, and attesting the effective transfer of the amount, and the supporting document of the constitution of the commercial company with a share capital equal or above the legally required and associated updated extract from the register of companies. In the case, if you are speaking of acquisition of a social participation, we also need an updated extract from the register of the companies attesting the holding of the participation and the contract by means of which the acquisition has occurred, stating that the amount of the acquisition verifies acquisition. The CEF is the entity that regulates this type of situation, and they will verify within the Social Security, okay? And finally, they extract also the registered companies if you are speaking of investment made by a shareholder limited liability company. So these are, and sorry to speak so fast, but it was important for me to show you all of the possibilities that we have here. And as I was saying, these are the 8 possibilities of golden visa programs that in fact we have here in Portugal. As I said before, the most common one to be used is the investment on the 500K. And we have seen a growth of this demand, namely from citizens from Western Europe and Asia, and investing, in fact, here in Portugal. And this has led to the growth of the Portuguese economy, okay? So, as I said before, I'm very sorry, but I have to leave the conference, and any doubts, you can address them to the organization, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible, okay? Thank you very much for your time.